Today on Rappler, Philippine police find a black flag in an Abu Sayyaf camp, the same flag raised in violent Muslim protests around the world. A court rules a missing journalist is the 58th victim in the Maguindanao Massacre. And a study shows the Philippines lost 137.5 billion pesos in 2011 to traffic jams. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Philippine police discover a black flag in an Abu Sayyaf camp in Zamboanga City. The same black flag appears in violent Muslim protests around the world. In his book, The Black Banners, former Federal Bureau of Investigation agent Ali Sufan says the black flag taps into a secret motivation of Al-Qaeda. He says it's a narrative that convinces them that they're part of a divine plan. Al-Qaeda believes its black banners herald the apocalypse that would bring about the triumph of Islam. They raised the black flag after a mob stormed the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, and killed 4 Americans, including U.S. Ambassador Christopher Stevens. U.S. officials name an Al-Qaeda-linked group, which they said took advantage of an anti-Islam film protest to launch that attack. In a little more than a week, protests spread to more than 20 countries with more than 30 people killed. Black flags were also raised by angry mobs in countries like Egypt, Tunisia, and Yemen. Last September 20th, the police stormed an Abu Sayyaf training camp in Zamboanga City and freed Chinese hostage Yuan Kai-lin. During the 20-minute battle, police forces say they wounded Abu Sayyaf leader Khair Mundos, a bagman for the Abu Sayyaf, for money from Saudi Arabia. During last week's raid on the camp, intelligence sources tell Rappler they found the black flag as well as training manuals from Jamaat Islamiyah, once Al-Qaeda's arm in Southeast Asia. These are photos of Filipinos in the southern Philippines. This is not the first time the black flag surfaced in the Philippines. In November 6, 2011, a masked Filipino jihadist identified as Commander Abu Jihad Khalil Al-Rahman Al-Luzoni uploaded a video on YouTube exhorting Muslims around the world to support the jihad in the Philippines. He gave his Arabic message in front of Al-Qaeda's black flag. Authorities have since identified him as Khalil Pareha, the leader of the Raha Suleiman movement, or RSM, a group which worked with Jamaat Islamiyah and the Abu Sayyaf on the Super Ferry bombing in 2004 and the Valentine's Day bombings in 2005. Read more on Rappler.com. Al-Qaeda's black flag seized in ASG camp. A Philippine court confirms the 58th victim in the 2009 Maguindanao Massacre after ruling that a journalist missing since the killing was among those murdered. Members of the Ampatuan clan accused of masterminding the massacre are charged with a 58th count of murder for allegedly killing Reynaldo Momay. Momay is a photographer for the local paper Midland Review. The ruling comes after Justice Secretary Laila de Lima assures human rights groups the government is taking, quote, concrete steps to tackle extrajudicial killings. In a meeting at the Philippine Embassy in Washington, D.C., de Lima says she welcomes the opportunity to demonstrate the government's sincerity in addressing abuses. In a statement, Human Rights Watch Asia Director Brad Adams says the Philippine government's claim there's progress on the human rights front is premature. He notes there's no successful prosecution of military personnel for extrajudicial killings. Adams says the question isn't what the government plans to do, but what it has already done. The Sandigan Bayan's 5th Division affirms its June 2012 ruling, junking the government's claim on 60% of the holdings of businessman Lucio Tan in his various companies. The court says there is no proof that any of Tan's companies benefited from the supposed favors extended by the Marcos government or that these were actually implemented. In its earlier resolution, the Sandigan Bayan ruled the Office of the Solicitor General and Presidential Commission on Good Government presented only hearsay testimony, despite having more than 2 decades to prove the case. Last June 27, the PCGG-OSG filed a motion for reconsideration. It asserted that Tan's assets may be forfeited in favor of the state even if his lawyers argued that these did not directly come from government coffers. The government loses the case to Lucio Tan. Commission on Audit Commissioner Heidi Mendoza links former Makati City Mayor Elenita Binay and former city officials to alleged fraud in the bidding for a 72 million peso contract in 2001. The trial concerns a graft charge involving the purchase of furniture and fixtures for the Makati City Hall. Testifying before the Sandigan Bayan, Mendoza says several factors suggest the bidding was rigged. She says 2 of the 3 bidders share the same office address and says there were similarities in the bids of the 3 companies. A Pulse Asia survey shows a majority of Filipinos approve of the national government's efforts to prepare for disasters, but not of local government unit actions. The poll gives the Aquino administration an average grade of 80, above the passing grade of 75. 85% of survey respondents approve of the way government prepared for future calamities, while 80% say they're satisfied with the speed and effectiveness of the response. But only 58% of Filipinos are satisfied with the response of local government units. The survey was conducted after the southwest monsoon devastated parts of Luzon in early August. 3 years ago today, Typhoon Ondoy dumped record rainfall on Metro Manila. Rappler readers share the best ways to prepare for bad weather. Noel Colina says, map flood-prone areas in your community. This will help you develop your flood evacuation plan. He adds, do not just rely on the internet during typhoons. Better to have a handheld, battery-powered AM/FM radio to monitor the news. Joel Cruz says, keep a bag of clothes and supplies in the car for emergency sleepovers or stopovers during floods. And Twitter user at TJ Brood makes a 3-item list. Secure important documents, make sure your cell phone is always charged, don't panic, and stay alert. Hundreds of billions of pesos were lost in 2011, not because of calamity or disaster, but because of an everyday complaint in Metro Manila, traffic. Catherine Visconti reports.
Metro Manila is notorious for traffic jams. The country is losing money as people's productive hours slip away in traffic. A study by the National Center for Transportation Studies says traffic in Metro Manila cost the country 137.5 billion pesos in 2011. The loss in productivity is almost as much as 2 months' worth of remittances and equivalent to 1.4% of the total Philippine economy.
So even I was shocked, even Secretary Balisacan was shocked. So it just drives home a certain point to all of us at government, that we do know infrastructure is the basic foundation for our economic growth. Very clear.
Many of the new roads and railways that could decongest traffic have not been built. The bidding process that awards projects to private companies is delayed. 2 companies want to link the major toll roads, NLEX in the north and SLEX in the south, to ease traffic in Metro Manila. Government hasn't formally awarded either of the 2 proposed connector roads, and neither can move forward with construction. The government already missed some of its initial bid deadlines that would extend the existing light rail to Bacoor, Cavite. Construction is a distant goal eyed in 2014. Aside from road and rail projects, newer improved airports promised by the Aquino government also faced delays. Of the 5 promised public-private airport projects that will bring more tourists and businessmen to the Philippines, none have been bid out. A new Panglao airport is nowhere in sight, and Puerto Princesa, the jump-off point for the world-renowned underground river, is already busting at the seams. 2 years since infrastructure was touted as a key source of economic growth, only 1 in a growing list of infrastructure projects has been awarded. These delays are holding back potential investments. Local banks and foreign investors are eager to finance these projects.
It does generate a lot of investment, a lot of investment interest. So I just hope that it will come to us sooner.
The Philippines cannot afford to slow down as it gears up to be more competitive in the global economic race. Catherine Visconti, Rappler, Manila.
By next year, most of the government's big-ticket projects are expected to be online, and traffic is expected to get worse. By 2013, the government wants to start a rail project, an integrated bus terminal, and 7 big-ticket road projects, most of which will be done in Metro Manila. Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan says, "You're building for the future." He adds, "It's worth it in investment so that in the next 20 years, the business losses will not be so high." A senior trade official says the Philippines seeks to lure investments from Japanese companies that are being hurt by their country's territorial dispute with China. In recent weeks, demonstrators angered by the dispute over the Japan-held Senkaku Islands target Japanese firms in China. Philippine Trade Undersecretary Cristino Panlilio says the government is courting 15 companies and offering tax incentives to Japanese investors. He says the country did similar pitches in Thailand and Japan last year after those countries suffered natural disasters that forced manufacturers to stop production. The Philippines is now the fastest growing market for smartphones in Southeast Asia. Singapore-based research firm GfK says the country posts a 326% increase in smartphone sales over the last 12 months. This is significantly higher than the growth posted in Southeast Asia's 7 major markets: the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. In July, GfK reported that 1 of 4 Filipinos own a smartphone, driven by their increasing affordability. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 3, U.S. President Barack Obama addresses the United Nations General Assembly, saying the U.S. will do what must be done to stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons. Speaking at the start of a 7-day debate session, Obama says the U.S. respects the right of nations to acquire peaceful nuclear power, but stresses that a nuclear-powered Iran is, quote, not a challenge that can be contained. Iran says nuclear technology would be used for civilian purposes. At number 4, as tensions between China and Japan continue to grow over a territorial dispute, China flexes its military muscle Tuesday, announcing the launch of its first aircraft carrier. The 300-meter-long ship, Liaoning, named after the province in which it was refitted, was purchased from Ukraine and is from the Soviet era. The Defense Ministry says the aircraft carrier raises the Chinese Navy's fighting capacity to, quote, a modern level. At number 5, with the campaign for 2013 U.S. presidential elections well underway, candidates Barack Obama and Mitt Romney focus efforts on what are called battleground states, states that have the potential to deliver the most number of electoral votes. According to a Washington Post poll, incumbent President Barack Obama leads in both Ohio and Florida, 2 of the key battleground states. A previous poll by the Wall Street Journal also shows Obama leading Romney in Virginia, 52% to 44%. Analysts say both candidates need to win at least 2 of these 3 battleground states to stay within a winning shot of the presidency. At number 6, new satellite imagery from the Associated Press show North Korea has stopped construction of a launch pad where intercontinental range rockets could possibly be fired. Authorities believe the delay was caused by heavy rains and could set back operations by 2 years. According to a report by U.S.-Korean website 38 North, the images indicate North Korea could be preparing for possible future rocket tests. It did so unsuccessfully in 2006 and 2009. And at number 9, social networking site MySpace, once one of the most dominant social networks in the world, is undergoing a redesign in the face of declining numbers. The company is now partly owned by pop superstar Justin Timberlake and is on its 4th redesign, which entails building the site back up from scratch. The new MySpace will focus on music and will try to integrate more with Twitter and Facebook instead of competing with them. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has its own mood meter, which has 8 emotions for you to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote will come to the front page of Rappler, the middle of the front page, to its mood navigator, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also displays the top 10 stories that have gotten the most number of clicks on the mood meter. If you take a look today, let's take a look at the bright blue. This is actually from a citizen, well, it's from a blogger by Chinny Dini, at ChinnyHD, as what happened when Rappler's mood meter made me upset, I think is the title. 47% amused in blue. Bisyo is a special report on the syntax by Cheche Lazaro, 35% angry. And one of the top stories today, the High Court asked to stop the cybercrime law, 94% happy, contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Wednesday, September 26, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.